Hey guys, what's going on? I need to talk to you about something real quick. We need to talk about sleep. I know it's a pretty broad topic, but we need to talk about sleep. And more specifically, how your sleep patterns have changed from when you were a child to now. And for some of you, you may still be a child. But let's focus on me, because I clearly am not a child. I am very different in the way my sleep pattern works, not including doing this. Like this doesn't help. But even before I started doing this full time, my sleep pattern has dramatically changed from when I was a kid. And I'm not talking like super young kid, because when you're super young you have a bedtime like 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock even when you're young, and then you start to progressively get later and later until you get like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. Some parents may not even care, but my parents did care. They wanted me to have a bedtime, so I had a bedtime. But I'm talking like when you're 13, 14, you're probably starting to get out of that bedtime stuff where your parents start to not care as much when you go to bed. They trust you more, and they trust you not to stay up all night. And so you start to go in the realm of like a midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5. You start to get into the early morning of the next day. But how things have changed now is now I go to bed almost every night at 3 a.m. Almost every night. Sometimes 4 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m. And I don't wake up the next morning, I guess that morning, until 11 noon. Like that's just what happens. Because, and I even have alarms set, and I just, when they go off, it's like clockwork. Goes off, turn it off. Goes off, turn it off, back to sleep. It's a repeating pattern that is horrible. And yes, I know you're probably saying, why don't you just turn it off? Juice, why don't you just turn off the alarms? You don't have to have those alarms. Well, see, I thought about that. But it's the thing is, I wanted to have the alarms so I could have the option to wake up. I wanted to feel like I was being productive and having the option in my mind that I wanted to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning even. I have an 8 o'clock alarm set. And then when that morning comes, every single morning, 8 o'clock on the dot, turn it off. Back to sleep. 9 o'clock on the dot, turn it off. Back to sleep. 10 o'clock on the dot, turn it off. Back to sleep. Sometimes it's even noon when I wake up. I don't have an alarm set past 10. But what my point is that it's so crazy to me how your sleep patterns change from when you're a preteen to early teenager to now. I'm 21 years old. So when you're an adult, how you prioritize. I prioritize sleep more than early morning stuff. I used to think of myself as a morning person, but not really a morning person. Like I would wake up early in the morning, like 9 o'clock, if that's early in the morning. But I would wake up at like 9 o'clock in the morning so that I could have the whole day to do stuff. And then I would go to bed. I would still go to bed at like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But now I prioritize sleep. So I go to bed at like 3, 4 in the morning and wake up at 11 noon. So I've changed my priorities. But it's just crazy to me how dramatically your sleep schedule can change just in a few years. Like even back when I was in college, and I went to bed at like 11 or midnight, and I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I had school at or I had class at like 6:30. So I mean, that wasn't really healthy, but I did it. I did it for like a year and a half, and before that, I mean, I I don't even know. Like I would go to bed at like midnight or 1 o'clock, but you'd start to get drowsy. You start to get real tired at like midnight, 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning. You'd start to get real tired. Your eyes would start sagging. You'd get super sleepy and stuff. You'd want to go to bed. Now, I don't get tired until like 2:30, 3 in the morning. That's when I head up to that's when I head up to my bed and like then I get on my phone and scroll YouTube or TikTok or Twitter, whatever. And then sometimes I don't get off that till 3:30, 4 in the morning. So, I mean, it's just crazy how much things have changed in your sleep pattern from when you're little, well, not little, but when you're a preteen teenager to now that I'm an adult. It's wild to me. It's crazy to think about sometimes. I don't know if you guys have changed your sleep schedule. You probably don't because you're probably still little, not little, but you're probably still young enough to where you don't have to worry about the stuff that I have to worry about. So I mean, it's just different, and it's just crazy to think about.